William Sheldon was an American psychologist who created the field of somotype and constitutional psychology that tried to correlate body types with behavior, intelligence, and social hierarchy. His work is known for a collection of photos, which are part of his Ivy League nude posture photo study, where he was able to arrange with a number of Ivy League schools to photograph freshmen nude, supposedly for the purpose of tracking scoliosis, rickets, and lordosis in the population. While he was popular during his time, but then later discredited, he still did appear to develop a valuable typology of body types. His work is generally now dismissed by modern researchers, though, in the area of criminology. Sheldon's theories were based on the idea that there were three distinct body types: the endomorph, the ectomorph, and the mesomorph, and that each body type has a certain temperament. There is some scientific value to understanding the basis of the three body types. However, using them as a basis to predict criminality or delinquency has been proven to be a poor choice of theory, as it is entirely non-predictive. Now, this slide on Edwin Sutherland is here, not because he developed theories relating to individual causes of criminality, but because he was a strident critic of Sheldon's work. Sutherland developed a theory called differential association, based mainly on the idea that it is who you associate with that determines your propensity towards criminality. And we'll discuss Sutherland's theory of differential association in the social process theory chapter later on. But what I do want to point out right now is that Sutherland's theory is one of the most popular theories, being cited to more than any other theorist, and that his theory has stood the test of time. And so we have here Sutherland, who one could argue is the most influential theorist ever in the area of criminology and delinquency, who is condemning the work of William Sheldon. So what I tell you about Sheldon's work needs to be viewed in this context as we discuss it. So, skipping back to Sheldon's work, and remember, he's considered the most influential theorist of his own time, he compares the characteristics of delinquent children and non-delinquents. Now note that he is the first theorist to collect data on children. All the other theorists we talked about before collected data on adult criminals. So Sheldon is a front-runner here. What he found was that the mesomorphs were overrepresented in delinquency cases. Now, of course, this is a correlation, not necessarily a causative factor. But because there were far fewer controls on methods used in the early 1900s to develop theory, there is little criticism at this time regarding Sheldon's findings. In fact, they're thought of as groundbreaking. So this slide is straight from the text, which cites to the discovery in 1995 that there were files at the National Anthropological Archives that were discovered. These were the nude posture photos of entering freshmen, and these individuals included notables such as Hillary Clinton, Diane Sawyer, George Bush, and Meryl Streep. These photos were placed under seal and eventually destroyed, but it was a big news break back in 1995 that they even existed. So we will move now into exploring some of the more contemporary theories: chromosomal, twin, and adoption studies. We'll also look at electrodermal response theories and what is now highly popular, neuropsychological factors. Theories about males having an extra Y chromosome became very popular in the late 1960s because there was a highly publicized murder trial of two men, one in Paris, France, and one in Melbourne, Australia, who were both going to use this theory as a defense in their murder trials. At this time, there was also a highly publicized murder trial for Richard Speck, who had been tried for the death of 8 student nurses in Chicago. The New York Times introduced the XYY genetic condition to the general public in a 3-part series on consecutive days that began with the Sunday front page story about the planned use of the condition as a mitigating factor in the 2 murder trials in Paris and Melbourne. And the New York Times also falsely reported that Richard Speck was an XYY male and that the condition would be used in an appeal of his murder conviction. The series was echoed the following week by articles in Time and Newsweek, the New York Times Magazine, and it then became a highly publicized theory with the general public. As popular as these theories were, once again, statistical analysis shows that this theory has very little predictive value. Twin and adoption studies have also considered whether identical twins that are separated at birth and raised in different environments, whether they have similar rates of delinquencies. These studies have shown that there is a similarity in the frequency of delinquency when children have identical genetic makeup.